Wine, sacred to one faith, forbidden to another. And modern science says both were right. There is one substance that sits at the absolute center of the world's greatest religious divide. Another calls it forbidden, haram, and promises rivers of it in paradise as a reward for the righteous. One faith calls it the blood of God. A third requires it at every holy ceremony, from birth to death, and considers it the only drink worthy of a prayer. Three faiths, one grape, three completely different answers. And modern science? Modern science has spent decades trying to figure out who is right. The answer, as usual, is more complicated and more fascinating than anyone expected. The oldest drink of civilization. Wine is older than the Bible, older than the Quran, older than organized religion as we know it. The earliest evidence of wine production was discovered in the country of Georgia, dating back to approximately 6000 BCE. That is 8,000 years ago. Clay jars stained with grape residue, tartaric acid, and ancient fermentation compounds. Wine spread from the Caucasus through the ancient Near East, to Mesopotamia, to Egypt, to Canaan, the very land that would become Israel. The ancient Egyptians depicted wine in their tomb paintings, believing it would nourish the dead in the afterlife. Pharaohs were buried with jars of wine. Mesopotamian texts record wine being offered to the gods as early as 4000 BCE. By the time Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, wine was already one of the oldest and most sacred beverages in human civilization. It was not a new discovery. It was an inheritance. Wine in Judaism, the only drink worthy of God of all the world's faiths. Judaism has perhaps the most intimate and deliberate relationship with wine. Wine is the only beverage in all of Jewish law over which a special blessing, a bracha, is recited. Not water, not milk, not oil, only wine. The Sabbath, the holiest day of the Jewish week, begins and ends with a cup of wine. The Passover Seder requires 4 full cups of wine, representing the 4 expressions of redemption God promised to Israel in Exodus. Wine was poured at every temple offering in Jerusalem. It is required at Jewish weddings, circumcisions, and funerals. The Psalms say, "Wine gladdens the heart of man." Ecclesiastes says, "Wine gladdens life." Proverbs warns against excess, but never against wine itself. The Talmud takes it further. Some rabbis taught that the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden, the fruit that changed everything, was actually a grapevine. Humanity's first act of defiance and its oldest act of worship both came from the same fruit. Wine in Christianity, the blood of God. In Christianity, wine does not merely accompany worship. For over 1 billion Christians, it is worship. At the Last Supper, the night before his crucifixion, Jesus took a cup of wine. He said, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in remembrance of me." For Catholic and Orthodox Christians, this was not symbolic. In the Eucharist, the central act of Christian worship, the wine literally becomes the blood of Christ. It has been consumed in this belief for 2000 years, in every country, in every century, on every continent. The very first miracle Jesus performed was not healing the sick or raising the dead. It was turning water into wine at a wedding in Cana, so that the celebration would not have to end. The first miracle of Jesus was an act of joy, and it was made of wine. The Apostle Paul even wrote to his young protege Timothy, "Stop drinking only water and use a little wine because of your stomach and your frequent illnesses." Even the medical advice of the early church included wine. The Islamic paradox, forbidden here, promised in paradise. And now we arrive at the most fascinating tension in the entire history of wine and religion. Islam forbids wine absolutely. The Quran declares it haram, prohibited, alongside gambling and other intoxicants. The reasoning is compassionate. Wine causes the mind to lose clarity, leads to harm, and distances the believer from God. And yet, the Quran describes rivers of wine flowing in paradise. In Surah Muhammad, chapter 47, verse 15, God describes the gardens of paradise. In it are rivers of water, unpolluted, rivers of milk, unchanging in taste, rivers of wine, delicious to those who drink it, and rivers of pure honey. How can the same scripture forbid wine on earth and promise it in paradise? Islamic scholars have answered this for centuries. The wine of paradise is different. It does not intoxicate, does not cloud the mind, and does not harm. It is the essence of pleasure without the poison of excess. The prohibition on earth is not a condemnation of the grape, but a protection of the human being. And history reveals something else remarkable. During the Islamic Golden Age, the period between the 8th and 13th centuries, when Islamic scholars preserved and advanced virtually all human knowledge, wine was a constant subject of poetry, medicine, and philosophy. The Persian poet Omar Khayyam wrote some of the most beautiful wine poetry in human history in a Muslim society. Avicenna prescribed wine as medicine, in careful doses, in the canon of medicine. The forbidden thing was never entirely absent, because beauty rarely is. Wine in the ancient world, Greece, Persia, and India. Beyond the Abrahamic faiths, wine was sacred across the ancient world. In ancient Greece, Dionysus, the god of wine, was one of the most widely worshipped deities. Wine was not just a drink at Greek religious festivals, it was the presence of the god himself. The symposium, the cornerstone of Greek intellectual life, was built around wine. Plato's Symposium, one of the greatest philosophical texts ever written, was a drinking party. In ancient Persia, wine was deeply woven into Zoroastrian culture and Persian royal tradition. Persian kings hosted legendary feasts with wine. The poets Hafez and Rumi, writing centuries after the Islamic conquest, used wine as their primary metaphor for divine love. When Rumi wrote about wine, he was writing about God. In ancient India, Ayurveda prescribed wine, called madhya, as medicine. Used in precise doses for digestive health, pain management, and as a vehicle for herbal medicines. The Karaka Samhita, one of Ayurveda's foundational texts, devotes entire chapters to the medicinal use of wine. What modern science says. Now let us look at what modern science has discovered about wine, and why this story is genuinely complicated. The French paradox. In the 1990s, researchers noticed something puzzling. The French ate diets high in saturated fat, yet had significantly lower rates of heart disease than Americans. One hypothesis emerged: regular moderate consumption of red wine. This became known as the French paradox, and it launched decades of research into wine and health. Resveratrol, the compound that changed everything. Scientists identified a polyphenol in grape skins called resveratrol. A 2025 comprehensive review published in MedCom confirmed resveratrol has significant anti-inflammatory, antioxidant and anti-aging properties. Resveratrol activates a protein called sirtuin-1, which regulates aging at the cellular level. It promotes autophagy, the same cellular self-cleaning process triggered by fasting. Laboratory studies show it may protect against cardiovascular disease, neurological disease, cancer progression, and diabetes. Cardiovascular benefits. Multiple studies show moderate red wine consumption is associated with higher HDL, good cholesterol, and lower risk of coronary artery disease. Resveratrol inhibits platelet aggregation, reducing the risk of dangerous blood clots. The Mayo Clinic acknowledges these findings while noting the research is still evolving. Neuroprotection. Clinical research published in Nature Precision Oncology found resveratrol was well tolerated and beneficially influenced disease biomarkers for neurological disorders, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. But here is where the science gets honest. The American Heart Association's 2025 scientific statement on alcohol and cardiovascular disease is clear. The benefits of resveratrol do not require alcohol. Resveratrol is also found in grape juice, blueberries, peanuts, and dark chocolate. The risks of alcohol: liver disease, addiction, cancer risk with excessive use are real and serious. No medical organization recommends starting to drink wine for health benefits. The grape is medicine. The alcohol is complicated, and the ancient world understood the difference, even if it did not have the words for it. From a research standpoint, this must be clear. Moderate means 1 glass per day for women, 2 for men, and many researchers now question even that. Alcohol increases the risk of certain cancers, liver disease, and addiction, even at moderate levels. People with a history of addiction, liver disease, pregnancy, or certain medications should not drink alcohol. The polyphenols in wine, including resveratrol, are available in non-alcoholic forms. Always speak with your healthcare provider about what is right for your individual health. 8,000 years ago, someone in the Caucasus Mountains discovered that crushed grapes, left to ferment, produced something that changed the way they felt. They did not call it chemistry. They called it a gift. That gift traveled across every civilization that followed. The Jewish people built their holiest ceremonies around it because it gladdens the heart of man. Jesus made it the vessel of his own sacrifice, the most intimate act of remembrance in Christian history. Islam forbade it on earth and promised it in paradise, understanding that what intoxicates is dangerous, but what delights is divine. The Greeks gave it a god. The Persians gave it their greatest poetry. The Ayurvedic healers gave it prescriptions. And modern science? Modern science found resveratrol, a compound in the skin of a grape, that may slow aging, protect the heart, and shield the brain. The ancient world did not agree on whether to drink it, but every civilization agreed on one thing: there is something in this fruit that is more than ordinary. Faith and science both keep returning to the same vine. They just ask different questions when they get there. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Ancient wisdom, modern proof. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon.